Hello everyone, Man Avengers here, and it's time for the cool board. That's right, you've been waiting for a long 3+ months for the cool board, and now it's back. We got 12 items today that we're going to talk about on the cool board, and we're going to see if they're yikes, meh, cool, or wow. Let's get on to the cool board. For those of you who may not be experienced or have not seen the cool board before, here is the cool board itself, and of course, as I mentioned, the categories are yikes, meh, cool, and wow. And we're going to be ranking different boards where they fit in. If you're wondering exactly how they're kind of quantified, everything's a bit loose, but it goes from left to right in coolness, from least to greatest, before it goes from bottom to top. So keep that in mind. We are only going to ever be covering items that have shipped. If an item has not shipped, we will not be covering it on the show until the group buy has concluded at least like 80% and has shipped. And that's going to be what it is. I'm not going to do anything on interest checks. Maybe that'll be a future cool board, but for now, those are going to be the rules we're going by. I got chat here with me on Twitch live. If you're watching on YouTube, you know, twitch.tv/manofinterest if you want to catch this live. We'll post a release schedule of these episodes when I'm doing them live and when they're coming out in the near future. But for now, let's get started. We got 12 items today. Where are we going to start with these 12 items is the real question. So, we have a few people, a few regulars in chat. And let's start with asking one of our regulars, where should we start? Mr. Nebula, please give us a number between 1 and 12. Well, once we wait for him to get that number, we're going to get started on seeing if it's going to be a cool number. Okay, Nebula says 5 exclamation mark at sign. Okay, let's check out what is number 5. Starting off on the cool board today, we have the CA66. It is made of 6063 aluminum. It has an HHKB-like and wind keyless-like layout. It was available in black, silver, dark gray, white, gray blue, dark red, purple, and army green. It was inspired by the worst keyboard in the world that they wanted to make their own modern design of. It does have a Bluetooth PCB option, and for the CA66, actually that was a typo, it is not first come first serve 30 units, my bad, but the price, it was $275 plus shipping and plus any extras you may want, like that Bluetooth PCB I mentioned, or some of the more exotic color options such as purple that you see pictured, or army green. So, how cool is the CA66? I personally have a CA66, a round 1 CA66, not the most recent round 2. I like the board, but I won't deny the board certainly has problems. But the question isn't, is it a great board? Is it a bad board? Is this board with problems or not? The question is it a cool board? So, what do you guys think? What does chat think? Honeybush, thank you so much for that sub. Let me just grab our item card for today. CA66 is where we're starting. So, how cool is the CA66? Yikes, meh, cool, or wow? I think it's not yikes. Okay, there's a big problem I think most people would dock it for, and I dock it down for, which is the USB port is only on the right side. Not in the middle in the back, not on the back on the right side. Just literally on the right side is where the USB-C port is. At least it's C. Different layout options, even with the HHKB-like option here, right? You can just do a split spacebar. It even supports ISO for people out there who like ISO. In between the navigation keys and the main typing cluster, you'll see that little strip. That's actually a nice little flowy RGB strip. It actually has a really nice milky, I think it's either milky acrylic or milky polycarbonate bit with a lot of small RGB LEDs really close, and because they're really close and it's really diffused, it actually looks like the colors through it are like flowing. You don't see like hot spots of LEDs. which I like. I hate if someone makes an RGB board and you see all those like strong hot spots of the RGBs at certain spots. It's left, not right. Oh, my bad. Nebulin is right. It is left. It's been a while since I've used that board. I just remember it's on a certain side. I don't think it's yikes. I don't think time has been kind to the CA66. I don't know if it's still cool. I want it to be cool, but that doesn't necessarily mean it is cool. Is it cool? I think it's on the definitely on the meh side these days. I think if you asked me like a year ago, is a CA66 cool? I'd say yes. Oh, it's cool. It's definitely unique, right? It has a little pen ledge up on top. The geometry of the board itself with the nice rounded edges on top and bottom, really, really fun. Really great to look at. A lot of people, myself included, have had PCB options, PCB issues. My PCB currently isn't working, and I have no clue why. I just haven't had time to diagnose it. I'll have to figure out why it's just not working in the near future, as a heads up. So, I might have messed it up when I rebuilt it recently. I don't know, but how cool is it? I think it's meh. The question is where in the meh? Okay, there's not really much in the meh right now, as we recently, in air quotes, started a new season, so the board's pretty blank. So really, if it goes in the meh, is it cooler than the Canoe Gen 2 or the KBD 67 V2 MK2? I think it's cooler than both of those. In fact, I think it's way cooler than both of those. Is anyone in chat gonna fight me about it? Because I think you're wrong. Here's the thing. Let's compare it to the least cool thing in the cool category. Is it cooler than the Southpaw full-sized? No, it's not. It's not. Sorry. For now, we're just put a high meh. Some high meh energy is where we're gonna put the CA66, right? It's what happens when some Taiwanese designers want to do something radical, and they decide by doing something radical, they're going to imitate the design of what was ranked by multiple sources as one of the worst feeling keyboards in the world. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. That's one item done. Next up, for our next item, I'm gonna pick the next item. Let's talk about the modern M. Actually, Gawk had a great question before we move on. Gawk said, would it be cool if it had updated internals and PCB? It might barely edge into the cool, but that's hard to say. I think if they also rotated the USB-C 90 degrees, at least have it come out of the back, either on either side, right or left, that would, for me, definitely make up for it, for sure. But yeah, updated internals, updated PCB would be appreciated. The cool thing, one of the cool things I remember about the case, I don't know, we'll keep talking about it, is I believe it was one of the first cases that people tried out the leaf spring mount. Tom Berry had a carbon fiber leaf spring plate made. He pushed on GeekHack for the CA66. It was pretty cool, really cool at the time, because the case actually has enough room on the inside, which people also say is a good or bad thing, that hollowness. I think that hollowness isn't a big deal if you utilize it correctly. But for now, it's going to be in the meh. And instead, now we are going to talk about the modern M0110. It's aluminum. What kind of aluminum? I couldn't track that down. It was 3.5 kilograms. Had Cerakoted and anodization options. Inspired by the M0110. It cost $340 plus shipping, and if I remember correctly, the group buy itself definitely came into some issues with taking a cool minute, let's just say the least. In fact, it took so long, a clone of this board ran on drop, finished the drop, and shipped within the period of this starting and ending. So I reviewed one back when I was on TopClack. It's another show that you guys probably know of. A long time ago. I did a review. Yeah, and it was a while, and I totally forgot about it until, like, you know, last year when I received one to build for a customer. The the Cerakote wasn't as good as I thought it could have been. The mounting is a top mount. I built the customers with a brass plates. It was a really, really heavy board, and that was probably the most unique thing. It was just a chunker of aluminum. But I think it was dated when it ran, and that issue got even worse when by the time it shipped. I don't think the modern M0110 is actually that cool. I actually think if someone got a teensy and just hand wired an actual M0110, that would be cooler than this modern iteration. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. Does anyone in chat think this is actually cool? Sifo does. Sifo thinks it's cool, looks like. Did they make an Alps PCB for this one? So this is actually compatible with basically any normal 60% PCB. So yeah, you could just get any kind of 60% Alps PCB, and it will work for it, along as it has the standard top left USB port placements. So. So yeah, M0110. It sounded fine too. It didn't sound bad. Didn't sound amazing. It just sounded. So, meh or cool goes the modern M0110. What do y'all think? I think meh. I think it's actually less cool than the CA66, because the CA66, at least it took an old inspiration and it iterated on it in its own way. This just took that old design and basically made it aluminum and MX. That's it. And I don't know if that is it. I don't know if that's enough to push it to actually be cool in concert. Maybe that is enough. Is that enough? Gavin says, cool. I think it looks nice. Nova 733. It's fine, I guess. Nebulan, very low meh. Huey, what's the bottom half of cool? The bottom half of cool includes boards such as the Southpaw Full Size, the Duck Octagon V3, and the Tengu. So far on the bottom side of the cool section. I don't know. If those are like the bottom of cool, no way it's cool. Unless everything in cool needs to be raised up to make room for it near the bottom. I don't know if I'm sold on that, to be perfectly honest. I don't know if it is cool enough to join the cool. And that's the big thing. Is it cool enough to join the cool? My gut says here. You think Nebulan says it's less cool than the Canoe V2, which, if you missed it, Nebulan believes it is dog shit. Would I rate the modern M0110 higher than the Canoe V2? That's a real question. What would you guys all rather prefer? Okay, a Canoe Gen 2 or a modern M0110? What is actually cooler between both of these boards? Which one would make you go, wow, at a meetup, more likely? I think the modern M0110, if it was the anodized one and not the Cerakoted one, would be cooler. If it's a Cerakoted one, I don't know. Sarvo, you take the M0110 because HHKB. That's true. The M0110 is the better layouts. That is factual. Can't argue with the facts. Facts. Thank you, Nova. Thank you. At a meetup, wouldn't you be drawn to anything with fat bezels? See, that depends, Gawk, because if I saw an Exent at a meetup, I'd be drawn to make fun of it. That's not necessarily the good kind of being drawn to a keyboard, right? I I would also rather choose Modern M0110. I don't think it's that much cooler, but I do think it's cooler. It's still mad though, so I'm gonna put it here. Honey, please. Gavin, you think the Canoe and KBD 67 look very typical? I agree. They are quite typical. The Canoe back in the day, back in its heyday, was cool. It had a very unique little fin design that people really liked, but of course, it has not aged well in my personal opinion. I think the Canoe has aged like shit, because those PCBs are quite shit. Okay, I'm gonna put the M0110 there. One of the advantages of it basically was it can fit any 60% PCB that's normal, so got a lot of options, and it was Alps plate compatible too. So cool, you got your options, and for a lot of people they could work. And I think the modern M0110 should rank higher than the Canoe Gen 2. Links to the websites, yes, I believe Nebulent will be able to post those links as we cover them. Sorry about that, VN Flynn. But I can also grab some of those as well. Yasmin, okay. If you wanna give that refresher for VN Flynn. Okay, let's have our quote unquote celebrity in chat. Heinebush, if you're still here, can I get a number 1 through 12? Gavin, probably the M0110 is for those who want this design, but cannot find the OG M0110. They can find the OG one. It's pretty easy to find on eBay and pretty cheap. Okay, Heinebush says numero trace. So we are going to be covering. Ooh, this might be full of drama. Who knows? We're going to be covering the QXP. The QXP features a 17.5mm front height, a 5-degree typing angle, was available in pink, silver, gray, red, black, navy, blue, gray. It's not 75%, it's 60%. I copy and pasted a lot of stuff and I forgot to change a lot of stuff. That was my B. First come, first serve, first come, first serve 30 units, that is true. And it only cost $250 plus shipping, which was pretty inexpensive at the time. But of course, I think, if I remember correctly, the QXP also had its fair share of issues. So, QXP, is it any cool? People at the time it ran really liked the the curved sides, and that side design, with the ledges with the chamfer on the top ledge, and then. But has it held up in 2021? I don't know. I don't know if it's cool. I don't think it's cool. Does anyone remember if it was centered USB port or like a left-hand side USB port? I actually don't remember, and I forgot to check the pictures when I was researching this earlier today. Left port. Thank you, Base Cats. Or Base Catas. Left. Thank you, everyone. 60 standard. Okay. So is this cool? That definitely gives it some viability on options of what you can do with it. But is it cool or is it meh? I don't think it's yikes. It's obviously not wow, right? Nothing about the QXP wows people today. You're not seeing QXPs, stir the loins of flippers, right? As far as I know, at least they don't stir the loins of flippers. 'Cause I'm pretty sure most modern flippers are like newer to the community and don't even remember when this ran. I'm confident they don't, but that's okay. QXP is okay. Would it be between the Southpaw full size, which is the least cool item, or would you put it by the CA66, which is the most cool meh item? That's a question we got to ask ourselves today. And I don't think its effect in the hobby really matters that much anymore. I don't think I would be able to identify it at a meetup if I saw it if I was at a table and I just saw it randomly on the table, I don't think I would be able to be like, oh, that's a QXP. I don't think so. I think I would just ask, because I'm interested in 60%, oh, which 60% is that? Because, you know, the hype of QXP and what it means or meant, if it ever means or meant anything, is gone. So I don't think it's cool. I think it's actually, I think it might be less cool than the CA66. I think the average person at a meetup would find the CA66 at least visually cooler than the QXP. What do you all think? Let me actually, sorry, let me put it in frame for you all. Gawk. I think it's distinct because of the top. Only recent ones aside from TX line that you agree with would be the Chimera 65. Base, you agree, QXP less than CA66. I think so too. I think, okay, QXP or modern M0110. Between the two, personally, based off just like the details of the board, QXP, in terms of like raw looks, an anode modern M0110. But overall, the whole package, QXP. Right? I think it's fair to stack the QXP on top of modern M0110. I think that's the best it's got for it. Any arguments from the peanut gallery? No? Okay, I think everyone's good with this. I think everyone is good. Okay. I'm going to pick the next one now. And you know what? I'm going to pick... Okay. Let's pick this one. The Zephyr 65%. Made of 6061 aluminum with, quote, dovetail-inspired interlocking construction, end quotes. Featured in midnight blue, onyx, onyx black, scarlet red, and cool gray. There was a purple color originally as well. 5mm CNC PVD brass plates. $550 plus shipping from zealpc.net. Has the Zephyr aged well at all? Oops. So it was, as Gawk is saying in chat, it was one of the first to do a thick plate, which is pretty cool for people. That was actually a pretty short-lived trend, surprisingly. Is it still cool? I actually sold mine somewhat recently, but it was still a fun board to type on from time to time. Is it cool? It has some pretty industrial designs. You flip it over, the screws are kind of like have this exposed look to them. They're not like, you know, countersunk into it where you gotta get like a long boy bit to do. No, it's just like right there on the surface. And it just has this cool. The back has this cool industrial look. Same with the sides. Yeah, the Zephyr, designed by Wilba as well. You know him, you love him. You Wilba. Zephyr 65%. Davin, you think Constellation looks like a refreshed take on the Zephyr? Interesting. That may be important for the Constellation when we get there. For the Zephyr, I don't think it's like degraded necessarily in coolness, despite the fact that not really anyone talks about it. But I think it's still somewhat cool. I think if I saw one on a meetup, or I saw one flipped over at a meetup where it's showing off that beautiful PVD weight. By the way, if you got this board, the PVD silver is like the way to go with that brass weight. Just gotta say. That's what I went with, and it's beautiful. I don't have it anymore. I sold it, but I'm so happy. I'm happy I sold it. I think it's cool. Not gonna lie. I think it's cool. I think, in fact, I would put it above the Duck Octagon V3 and below the Tengu. That's what I think. That's what I think. What are you gonna do about it? That's the real question. I think it deserves to be sandwiched right there. In general coolness. Nebulant, you believe it should be equal level to the Tengu, but to the right? So cooler. Gavin, was the Zephyr, quote, revolutionary at the time it ran? Yeah, it was. It was one of the first boards to do the 5mm plate, one of the first boards to have a USB-C port. So I was doing in air quotes, let me pull it up, the quotes, dovetail-inspired interlocking construction. That's just fancy talk for it's a really fancy sandwich mount. Basically, the plate had these little ridges, and the case had opposite ridges, so they would align properly. But it was basically in a more expensive way to do alignment tabs. But you could argue, yes, that did affect the acoustics in a positive way. I think it was a fine board still. And I think it's a cool board still. I would be happy to see someone at a meetup with a Zephyr. More so than a Xeno. But we're not covering the Xeno today. I have things to say when we cover the Xeno. Okay, sorry. Got like a little PTSD. Sarvo, you think the history alone is worth bumping it up a little? Maybe we should swap it with the Tengu. Maybe the Tengu should move down, and the Zephyr should move up. Is that perchance what you were suggesting? Don't worry. We'll have episodes in the future, Sarvo, where the chat can fight about the existing placements. Zephyr was what made people think that Xeno manufacturing would be good. True. Big true. I don't know. That's fair. Definitely fair enough, Gavin. It's definitely not a keyboard for everyone. I think the NK65 definitely has a keyboard with its own very mixed set of pros and cons. But it was also extremely popular, sold extremely well, and at a great price. But that's not here right now. Right here right now is the Zephyr 65, and I think I'm kind of with you guys. Let's make room and do this properly, because this doesn't actually change how cool the Tengu is, because it's still above the Duck in the South Wall, but I am going to fit the Zephyr above the Tengu. But see, Sifo, that's not the only reason. And the Black Widow from Razer would be a meh at best, but most likely a yikes. Because non-standard bottom row, bruh. Okay. That's the Zephyr. Gawk, can I have a number between 1 and 12, please? Going to number 12. Ooh, interesting option. We have the F62 Model F, aka the modern Model F. It's a die-cast zinc case with capacitive buckling spring switches. Black, silver, true red, that's a typo, off-white / beige, and industrial gray for the colors. It's a remake of the famous Kish Saver 62. It costs you $355 plus shipping right now. The group by itself took about 5 years, but Joe / Eclipse, the runner of the set, was always really great at providing updates, providing his rationale, his methodology of bringing the keyboard from an inkling of an idea to over a container worth of keyboards that he has been sorting through and shipping out to people around the world who've been waiting so patiently. I joined the first year. I was still living in my college apartment, the last year of my college apartment, when I ordered the modern Model F. Was it? No, I was actually moved out of there. Where was I living there? I wasn't living where I'm living now. I was living somewhere else. And now it's a reality. It's not yikes. It's not meh. It's at least a high cool. But is it WoW? Is Joe's effort and realization of this project enough to make it a WoW? Is the board itself potentially a WoW? I have one. I enjoy it. I type it in every now. It's in reachable distance. I can show it off. Unlike my other boards that aren't in reachable distance, this one is. So I do have blinks on mine right now. So is this a WoW board, or is it just cool? Great question, Heine. What's on my desk right now, and what would I rate it on the cool board? Right now I have my Real Force 87U in the guillotine case. It's definitely cool. Definitely cool. But F62. Is it? It's. Does it cross into WoW territory? That's the question we gotta we have to come to today. That's the Patel. Gawk, the project you would rate as a WoW. Heine believes Modern F should be. The Modern F keyboard is 2/3 up on cool. The project itself is WoW, but it's more of a neat. I can definitely understand that that mentality for sure of this board. It's like, oh, neat. You brought your dream to life. Cause like ultimately, right? It's 2021, and I don't know if you guys know, but buckling springs aren't exactly vogue anymore, right? Like, I think the idea of bringing the modern Model F to life, I think that idea is cooler than this end product that I received. And like Heine said, like Joe put a ton of work. He did send the actual OG springs from Model F boards and an old Kish saver to a chemical facility, a metallurgy facility, to figure out the actual like metal composition of the original springs, because he wanted to make them as original possible. He could have easily just done an aluminum version of this case, but he's like, no, the original was a zinc die-cast, so I'm gonna make a zinc die-cast case. He could have anodized it, but no, the originals were powder coated, so he's gonna get this powder coated. And you know what? Just like the old ones, and the new ones now, they're solenoid compatible. And I do have a solenoid in mine that is very loud every time I type on it. Oh, I guess I'll demo it real quick. It does have a attached cable, not a detached cable. You guys hear that? I don't know if you guys hear that. My microphone might be a bit far. Yep. That's yeah. So, I think it's on the cool side. I think the idea of the project is cool. Then again, the idea of the project is a part of the identity of the board I just showed, right? So, modern Model F, F62, I'm going to put it at pretty high cool. I think it's, unless someone thinks there's a good reason, it should be WoW. I think it should be very, very high cool. I don't know if it crosses that threshold. Because it still did take 5 years, roughly. It should be WoW because this will never happen again. It costs less than the real one. I mean, that's true because the real one aren't in production anymore. This is the ultimate example of dedication to the hobby. That's a pretty good point, Evelyn. That is a pretty good point. That is a pretty good point. I don't think I can argue with that. I think that's a pretty good reason to put it in low WoW. Low WoW goes the modern Model F. F62 specifically. I'll fix the labeling later. And Lipson put in all that work to be put in high cool, bro. You right. You right. Okay. Sifo, it's your turn. Give me a number between 1 and 12. What hasn't been chosen? I'll tell you if it has been chosen. That'll probably be easier if you just give repeated guesses. Not guesses, but 8. Okay, let's go to number 8. Okay, our next item is going to be... You guys ready for this? Our next item is the Ogre by Zek Works. Made of 6061 aluminum with a 4.5 degree typing angle and a big O-ring. It was available in red, dark gray, black, or silver. 35 units were available for raffle. It was $400 plus shipping. How cool is the Ogre? I like the Ogre. I think it's pretty cool. I have one too. I enjoy it. I think it's somewhere in the cool. The question is, where on the cool is the Ogre? That's what we're coming down to right now. How cool? Sifo, you don't think anyone has ever said they don't like the Ogre? It's somewhere in cool. Here's the thing: has no one said it because there aren't that many in the wild? Because there was only 35 public units and an unknown but very, very, very small amount of non-public units, as far as I know. But I agree with Nebulin. The design, extremely clean. It's a seamless top, seamless sides, center USB-C port via a daughter board. The engraving on the bottom is simple, clean, and lovely. I think Zekin did an amazing job designing this board, and it accomplishes what he wants it to accomplish. And I think that's cool. Is it high cool? That's hard to say. It's between high and mid cool, I think. Right? Because I think I do like the group buy where Zek was very strong, where he's like, for the FAQ, basically like, no, I won't cater to your every single small weird need. This is my board. I'm gonna do what I want with my board. Will I make more? No, I have a full-time job. I'm just gonna make this much because I don't want to turn into a vendor. I'm like, that's great. He's very clear of what he wanted to do with the whole Ogre project, and I like that. Sifo, you believe it's cooler than the NK65, which I agree, and you believe it's maybe tied with the Physiques and E8.5. Well, actually, if you look at the chart, the Physiques and E8.5 aren't tied, because remember, the chart goes from left to right. So the Physiques, the E8.5 is actually, at the moment, cooler than the Physiques. So, maybe you believe it's cooler than the 8.5, you would have... You like it more than the Physiques, right? Of E.5, so it should be among one of the coolest items that we've had then, because remember the two coolest things is the Key Colt #1 of 65 and the E8.5. If it's on the same level as the U80A, that's the same level as the Physiques basically. This is how it kind of is, right? Because remember, we go from left to right before we go from bottom to top. So, like, for example, the NK65 is actually at the moment cooler than all these boards below it because it's more to the right than those boards. Those boards are all the same tier, but organized in their ranks within that tier, while, like, the NK65 LZ Physics is like a half tier, basically, cooler. And U80A. So you guys think Ogre should be, like... So these should actually be scooted back like this, and we should make room for the Ogre out here. Is what y'all are basically saying. Am I understanding that correctly? Where it should be a little bit closer to something like this. Where Ogre should be right now, should be the new King of Cool. Not WoW, but King of Cool. Because it'll be the most right on the cool section. Gavin, you say a yes. I can't really find a reason to disagree. King Friday, you just don't like that the 165 at all number 2 much better. Dagaki would be fine with that. I'm fine with that too, to be honest. I think it is definitely one of the coolest things on the cool side. Is the coolest thing on the cool side. No, it goes from left to right and then bottom to top. Does the rarity of the Ogre make it cool also? If you own one, yes. As someone who owns one, yes. In reality, that's very subjective, right? Rarity can make something kind of cool, and it can make something kind of like bleh. Vision, don't you think we should account for supply? You can account for whatever you want to and use that in your arguments when you think something is cool or uncool. Because ultimately, we're not talking about does this board have a good supply or not. We're just talking about if something is cool. And like I said, cool is always completely subjective. So if that matters to you, you gotta let us know. You gotta fight for the position of things. But I think Ogre is gonna be chill right here. Right here where it is. Near the Mason-Dixie line of cool and WoW, but not crossing it. Not crossing it. I'm gonna choose the next item. I'm gonna tell you what I want, what I really, really want. And what I really, really want is gotta be it. Come on. The HBCP, baby. How cool is the HBCP? The HBCP is done by a Mr. Heinebush. Made of aluminum. He didn't list what kind. I'm going to guess 6063. He's welcome to correct me. Unique thing, he used a thin 1.2 millimeter PCB, which is thin and flexy and fun. I absolutely love that PCB. It actually included shims, so you can mount your stabilizers, because 1.2 will leave them a little bit of a vertical space to jiggle about. It was available in silver, black, pink, clear PC, atomic purple PC. 65 aluminum units and 35 PC units. First come, first serve. $500 plus shipping for the HBCP. I have an aluminum one. I love it. I built mine with inks and bum wipe stems. It is a smooth and lean machine. I have mine with a half FR4 plate, which is absolutely lovely with that 1.2 millimeter PCB. I actually think it's wow. Personally, for me, this is the best big board I've ever used. Like, hands down, it's the best big board I've used. But I don't know, maybe it's just me who thinks it's a wow. To be perfectly honest. It could still be in cool, like, you know, in the Ogre tier, whether, you know, same tier as Ogre, but maybe below or above. But I personally think it's wow. That's what I think. But you guys gotta tell me, is it actually WoW? CFO, you think it's cooler than the Ogre? It's either above Ogre, in the same tier of cool, but above the Ogre, or it's moved over to WoW. King Friday, you believe it's just below the Ogre, so same tier, but not as cool, or the Ogre barely ekes out ahead of it. Maybe you believe it's about the same as the Bower. Gavin, you think it's cool. But how cool, Gavin? How cool? So here's what's on the cool for so far for cards. Remember, this is only the second episode of this season, technically. So we have a lot to go through. And typically every 3 to 4 episodes, we will have an episode where we do no new topics, but rearrange things. Usually I'll have a guest for those too. Gavin, you think it's cool? Gawk, you need to try it first. Think around the E 8.5 kind of cool. Formidable, you think is above the HHKB. Interesting. I feel I'm the only one I'm the only one in the WoW category, aren't I? Am I the only one who thinks HBCP should be a WoW? I guess sometimes you gotta go with the crowd, I guess. Okay, Nebulin's also in the WoW category. Okay, and Sifo. Okay, I got some allies here. It's Formidable. Okay, yeah, you guys are coming to back me up. It's WoW. I think. Let's move Bower back, actually. Same tier as Bower, but above it, I think. Let's just move these in line with the thermal. Yep. I think it should be like this. So a half step in coolness below would be the Model F, right? Within the same tier line, there's the Bower, HBCP, and Thermal, which within this tier, Thermal's the top, followed by HBCP and then Bower. And then in a half step between is the HHKB Pro Classic, and then the coolest thing we've ever seen so far is the Jane V2 CE. Or at least on this board so far. And that may change in the future, or even near future. Maybe you think Bower is cooler, but I do me. And I'm gonna do me, and I think HBCP is cooler than the Bower. I like the Bower, but I do think the HBCP is cooler. Gaffin, you also believe that if we have the HBCP in the WoW segment, it should be above the Bower. Interesting. Okay, for the people who are also with me in the WoW category, above or below Bower is what we're coming down to, right? HBCP, it's an amazing board. It's probably the best big board, in my opinion. And by big board, I mean bigger than a TKL. Neb, you want both of them, so they must be WoW. Oh, of course, of course. How an equal... No equals here. We got to make the hard cut decision. And if I have to put on Huey Dictator hat and make a decision, I will. And I think I'm going to have to do that. Where's my hat? Oh, there's my hat. So, HBCP. I'm leaving it right there above the Bower. Gawk, you agree with Formidable, who says 65s are pretty generic nowadays, so put HBCP above. Gavin would put Bower over. You think the color and thick bezels are kind of nicer. Well, I appreciate all of your. No, this one. This is a line I have to draw. I think the HBCP is cooler than the Bower. That's just the line. As someone who owns both, that's the line I'm drawn now. HBCP is the best of a relatively rare form factor. Big true. I'm making the call. The buck stops here. We're going with this. But next up, Gavin. You've been active in chat, Gavin. I'd love to hear a number 1 through 12 from you. Don't worry. Say any number, if we've already done it, Nebulin or myself will let you know. Then you just keep guessing another one. 6. We have not covered 6 yet. Let's cover item number 6 on today's cool board. Item number 6 is the Honeyboard 60. It's a 6061 aluminum board, a 4-degree typing angle. It was available in black, blue, red, rose gold, gold brass, orange, and purple with a standard or HHKB top. First come, first serve 30 units, $290 plus shipping. Has a really weird honeycomb thing on the bottom. The plate is standard, like it just sandwiches right in the middle. So yeah, Honeyboard 60. Is the Honeyboard 60 any cool? So from this picture, you can see the side of how the plate sandwiches in the middle. So is this any cool with that honeycomb? Do you guys think? Okay, honestly, do you guys think that honeycomb affects the acoustics in any measurable way, or do you think it's just a whole hubbubaloo about nothing? I don't know if this was the made in Canada board. That plate is disgusting. You believe people? Do you think people believe what is told? Also, man, don't really like any specific. I don't. Yeah, you wouldn't see the honeycombs on the inside. I don't think it's cool. I don't think it's cool either, to be honest. I think it's meh. I don't think it's a solidly meh board. How much was it? It was $290 plus shipping. Yeah, no. Don't worry, Gavin. All sorts of boards are going to be in consideration at one point or another. Okay, we'll be covering 60%, 40%, 80% TKLs, full size, and a board's a board. As long as it's shipped, it's eligible to be on this board. I think it's meh, and I don't even think it's that high meh, to be honest. Okay, if you saw this, at a meetup, right here, with this geometry, of course it's a render, duh. If you saw this at a meetup, would you care? And not in a way, and not like in a dismissive, you don't care about the board and you're insulting the owner, but like, would you even ask about this board? The only thing I would ask is what's with that messed up bottom row? Why do you have 4-1 under the right shift? Right? Like that's like the most effed up part of this board, that bottom row layout for this particular render. Like what is that? I just realized that right now, to be perfectly honest, and it disgusts me. It's absolutely disgusting. It uses a normal 6% PCB, so obviously you wouldn't be stuck with this layout. But I wouldn't be interested either. King Friday, nope, wouldn't be interested. Gavin, think this board could have been sharper and would look a bit better. Big agree. I think in terms of just the outside aesthetic design, I think it falls short and it's just boring. And unfortunately, boring things aren't cool. So it's not going to be in the cool. It's going to be in the meh. It's not CA66. It's less cool than the QXP. I'd say it's less cool than the Canoe. Less cool. I think it's the most meh thing we've had. Like, it's solidly less. It's like I said, things go from left to right. So I think it's the least cool thing. If I put it right there, we have the least cool item. I don't think it's yikes. Like it's not offensive. It just doesn't stir the cockles of your heart. Right? It be how it do because it is. It's and $290 for that. $290 for that. No. It's no. Okay. Maybe it's supposed to render, but it looks like an AliExpress. Poor Honeyboard 60. Poor Honeyboard 60. Okay. The next item we're gonna cover, I'm gonna pick out. What do you guys think I'm gonna pick out? What do you all think I'm gonna pick out, huh? We got 4 lefts. We got 4 items left. What am I gonna pick? What is the Huey going to pick? The next item that we are going to cover today is the Jur Mini, made of 6063 aluminum, has a 6-degree typing angle, was available in black, light blue, and pink. It's a 65% plus macro, first come first serve 30 units, $339 plus shipping, unique geometry on the sides and back-ish. Is the Jur Mini cool? This is the second project by the Jur team, most famously of the Jur 80, which is one of my favorite boards ever. And I think this was like a very, very lackluster follow-up, to be perfectly honest. But a lot of people still like the Jur Mini, and for good reason. It's still a very gorgeous board. It's still a looker. To me, it still doesn't hold up the candle to the Jur 80. But I know a lot of people really, really love the Mini. So how cool is the Mini, especially with the little accent on the bottom with those little LED notifiers under? It did have some production issues. There's some fitment issues, I believe, with one of the weights where they had to post a fix. What do you guys think? Yikes, man, cool. I don't think it's WoW territory. Good to see you, Mr. Petrov. And Mr. Petrov believes it is high cool. He says it's not the greatest sounding board ever, but looks-wise, loves it. King Friday is not feeling this. I believe you love this board, but it's meh. I don't really feel too strongly about this board one way or another, to be perfectly honest. I think it's cool. I think it's cool, but I don't think it's that cool. Like, I know people think it's cool, and I'm pretty sure because of that it should be somewhere in the cool. But Gox is low cool, CFO low cool. Gavin, you think it's unique, but something like the Zenith is a little better. Yeah, I'm going with mid to low cool. Like, okay. So the bottom tier of cool is it in the same tier as the Zephyr, Tengu, Duck Octagon V3, and Southpaw? That's the lowest tier of cool. Is it in that tier, or is it in the NK65, LZ Physiques, and U80A tier, which is one up? Or is it the tier after that, E8.5 Key Colt? Zephyr level, but cooler than Zephyr. So, but Mr. Petrov believes it should be cooler than the U80. Layout is unique, cooler than Zephyr. So if you guys say cooler than Zephyr, do you guys mean like on the same tier as Zephyr? Oops. On the same tier as Zephyr? And above it? Or do you guys mean like it should actually be moved up a tier to where the NK65, LZ Physics, and U80A are? Think between the Physics and NK65 CFO. Same says Gavin. So you guys are thinking it should be right here? Mr. Petrov says he is biased as he's a shrimp for left macro column. CFO says this is a good location. I think this is a fine location. I don't know. I think I have no issues with fitting it right there, right? It's the second tier of cool, right? It's above these four, and within these four, it fits right there. Nebulant, you would put it right below the... So Nebulant, you think it should be a tier higher. It should move more right to the next tier and below the 8.5. I don't know about that. There's enough people in the audience to agree with Nebulant. Don't worry, Nebulant. We'll have the revisit episode. We'll have the revisiting episode. But okay, let's talk about the coolness of the Jur Mini. Okay, we got that left hand macro. So I have a full macro because we got the space for the logo on the top, right? We got the arrow blocker, so it's a snaggletooth, right? Wind keyless bottom row, so 1.5, 1, 1.57, 1.5. I love those bottom rows for 65%. Has that little bottom rim, which, as Nicholas says, looks pretty pretty. Standard nav cluster for a 65%. Curve on the back. The keys look decently sunken in enough. Is this cool enough to hang with boards such as the E8.5? CFO, the worst part of the board is that Jur logo. Ah, yes, on the top. Yeah, it's definitely the worst part of the board. Tofu keys. Jur Mini is freaking cool. So, I think the logo brings it down, to be honest. Like I would be. I think it fits better in this tier than it does in this tier, specifically right here on this part. So less cool than these three, of course, and everything past it. But within this tier of these 4 boards, I think that's a pretty good spot for it. Like I said, maybe when we do our reorganization episode in 3 episodes from now, we'll talk about it. Gawk, if I said TGR, people would have called WoW. Yeah, probably. Probably. Petrov, I think it's important to have some wrong things so we can revisit it later. Fair enough. Plus, remember, this board is dynamic. What's cool today may not be cool in a few months, right? And that's why we always got to revisit and think about things on this board. Okay. What am I going to cover next? Next up, I'm going to cover the E7 V1. Specifically, I didn't label it right. SE. 6063 aluminum 5-degree typing angle, as the SE version was only available in one color, that E yellow, 75%, first come first serve, just 30 units for $4.99 plus shipping. Is the E7 V1 SE cool? Remember, I'm specifically talking about just the SE, so just this E yellow version. So, Petrov, you hate that massive blocker on the right, whereas Gawk quite like the E7 V1. Nebulant, the E yellow is sick, but I think he means the good kind of sick. It's hard to say when you're working with yellows, but I'm pretty sure he means the good kinds. Petrov, you see, it's just a wasted high value real estate. Interesting. Nebulant, the LED cluster is bad. The V2 made it better. CFO, E yellow is dope. Petrov, you like the yellow though, although it looks like E orange. Rock is the first of the exploded 75% to be released. Is the E7 V1 cool? And if it is cool, how cool? I think it escapes meh. The thing is, where does it fit in the cool category, right? I think I have an E7 FE, not SE. So from using an FE, which is all brass, is kind of a waste, to be honest. I think it's like the top of the lowest tier, right? I think it should be with these boards here, but above all of them is where I personally think it should go. Unless you guys think it should go in one of the higher tiers. I think this is an acceptable place for it. I think the Octagon is cool. Do you think it should be fitted between the Octagon and Tengu? You okay with accept that you like the Tengu, but you missed that boat? It's okay. It's okay, Mr. Petrov. We'll have a future episode where you can fight chat about the placement of the Tengu. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with it right here. Does anyone think it should be elsewhere? Is the big Q? Is the big Q? I think it's a competent 75%. Is a nice look. The E yellow is pretty nice. The LED cluster is kind of a cluster truck. But aside from all those facts, I mean, exclusive does usually pretty good work. So I think it's cool. I don't think it's the coolest, obviously, but it's cool enough. CFO, you've built like 4 Octagons. You think you'd rather have an E7? Plus, CFO, as someone who's built Octagons, would you rather have an exclusive a duck PCB or anything but a duck PCB? I would not like to have a duck PCB. Like E7 more than E8.5. I've built an E8.5. I've actually built 2 of them. I actually like E8.5 more than E7. I do want to rebuild my E7 though, just because it's a fun board. But I think I'm pretty happy with it here. I think most people, most of you guys are all happy with it here, right? No major complaints. Doesn't seem like it. It seems like that was a surprisingly easy fit. All right, we got 2 items left. You know what we're going to be covering. Next, we're going to be covering the Juby by Poner. The Juby is made of 6063 aluminum, has a 6-degree typing angle, 17mm front height, top or PCB mounts. It was available in black, silver, and dark gray, with both a standard and wind keyless top. 50 units available, $500 plus shipping. It's a 60% with macro column. What a board. I super regret missing out on this board. It has a beautiful front lip that's slightly chamfer. See, I don't own one, so I don't know if it's a wow. I think it's, at the minimum, a very high cool. I don't know about if it's a wow, but I know it's extremely high in the cool at the absolute minimum. How cool is the Juby? Need to get Diego here. Well, too bad he's on Do Not Disturb like he always is. So, Juby, is it big wow? Small wow? Diego here to swing opinion to wow. You guys are kind of... You guys are kind of selling me on maybe it should be wow. I'm gonna send this picture to him to our man right now. See if he says anything. I don't think Poner's gonna say anything because I think it's late for him. But everyone you've spoken to loves their Juby. Tofu Keys, you don't know if it's wow. Name the 60s with... Okay, just because something is unique doesn't make it wow in my opinion, but it could add to it. Juby, 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 Juby. Juby. Netherlands, Germany is 65. My dude. We just went over that board. Happens to the best of us. Fair enough, fair enough. Okay. Here's the big question. Is it wow? Are you guys telling me it's wow? I'll say this. I know at the very minimum it's cooler than the Germany. Because it's basically, instead of a 65%, a 60. At least layout-wise, it's better than the Germany. Aesthetically, it's probably cooler than the Germany still. It's not cooler than Ellipsis F. I mean, everything on the WoW is cooler so far. So should it maybe be, so if I move, for example, all of these up, right? And I move F up, is Juby here in the low cool then? Is that how this actually works? You guys think it should be a tier up? So like between Bower and HBC. I don't know if I could in good conscience put it cooler than the HBCP because I haven't tried it. But is it cooler than the HBCP? I don't know. Petrov, it was a different time when that episode ran. Cooler than the Bower? So you guys believe it should be between Bower and HBCP then? In the overall coolness. Nebula, everyone is so wrong. I haven't used a Juby either. I have the Bower and HBCP, which are both great. Sifa says Neb is actually right. Sifa, you saying that Neb is like Lord of the Rings, where Gimli's like, I never thought I'd fight alongside an elf. And it's like, how about instead a friend? And then you guys are arguing that Juby isn't WoW, or isn't this WoW? I don't know which one of those two you guys are arguing. It seems like everyone else thinks it's WoW. I don't really care actually if it's WoW or cool. I know it's one of the two. I haven't used it. I haven't seen one in person because there's no meetup, so I don't know if it can cross that line. If I saw it in person at the meetup, I could definitely make a split decision and say this is just a really high cool, or is this a WoW? Is more columns as the Jur, except Jur's more useful? That doesn't make it cool, does it? I don't think that's not my criteria, right? I like 60%. Are you gonna tell me every TKL is cooler because TKLs have more buttons? Come on. Come on here. Come on now. This is what happens. I messaged Poner the picture. I didn't think he'd actually see it because it's late over there, but I remembered he stays up late because Poner's a G. Well, Poner said meh. More buttons equals better. Okay. So everyone's saying basically either it's high cool, or is it mid to low WoW? That's the reality that we're here for today, and I don't know either way. I really think it's up to you guys in chat. So far, I've heard more arguments on why it should be WoW than cool, but for those who think it should be knocked down a peg, why should it be knocked down a peg? Why isn't it Bower, HBCP, Modern, Model F, HHKB Pro Classic, Thermal, or Jaden Feed 2 CE level? Like, don't get me wrong, I would rather trade those two macro columns for the fins of a Thermal any day of the week, right? And I'm sure you would too. But Petrov, you think the Juby is a more refined board internally than the Bower? Not a no. I mean, yeah. Okay, interesting. You guys are bringing up internals. Interesting. You think it's cooler than Thermal? You don't think Thermal's WoW at all? That's where you're wrong. That's where you're wrong. See, wrong. So you think should we WoW but below the Bower then? So keep it like this. Very curious what everyone thinks here about this one. Or is anyone advertising for it anymore to be here anymore, or is everyone's kind of just on this train? Petrov rates the Power above Juby personally. I think I'm gonna leave it here for now. Rate Juby above Bower. Reading is difficult, dude. Reading is very, very, very tough. If it didn't have a macro column, you would think WoW. I'm also with you. I'm not the biggest fan of macro columns because I don't care about macro columns. I don't collect artisans, so it's no big deal to me. Yeah, I'm gonna, but then it's just another 60. Then you have a point. But that front chamfer looks so comfy. Whether or not it is comfy, how easy would you use the Huey face if you had a macro? Big true. Rip Nebulant. Hey, I think that French chamfer is nice. It's comfy. I think. Okay, I'm gonna leave it here for now. I think we've had this is a good. I think it's a good spot to leave it. We're gonna leave it here for now, and then when we do our revisit episode in 3 or 4 episodes, we can fight about it even more. Sound good, everyone? I think it's worth fighting for because I think in 3 to 4 episodes, people are gonna be fighting a lot about what's in WoW and what's in Cool. We'll see. Alright, last but not least, you could have saw this coming from a mile away. I would end the show with this board of all boards. The TGR Alice, made of full Cobelco 5052 aluminum. So it's a much softer aluminum that's it's soft to the touch. I mean, it's still aluminum, so it's still freaking metal. 8-degree type angle, brass weight, fully programmable, black, pink, silver, red. First come, first serve, 40 units, 463 plus shipping. Yeah, come on, come on. Okay. Here's the thing. TGR Alice or Jane V2CE. Which one? One of the two. If everyone in chat had to choose, Alice or Jane V2CE. For me, Alice. Hands, they go down. I am hands down TGR Alice. Okay, everyone's with me. It's common sense, right? Like, you can't argue about this, really. Like, this is the TGR Alice is the move above the Jane. It's gonna be the coolest thing on the cool board, and my guess is probably gonna be the coolest thing we'll have in quite a while on the cool board. And that's just why I want to have it in now than later. Because I'm planning every week, 12 items every week. So, what do you guys think about this time slot, by the way? The Thursdays at like 7:38-ish. For Meridian in terms of aesthetics. I definitely understand a lot of people can prefer a lot of different boards, but I think a lot of those boards that you may prefer exist because of the Alice. Oh, Tengu Gok. We have the Tengu on the board already. The Tengu is actually low cool. The Tengu got straight up low cool. Fetra. So I think one of the amazing things is thanks for Yutzi for releasing those basically those acrylic files for everyone, because now everyone's making, you know, their own iterations of the Alice layout for better or worse, and that basically kind of like ascended the Alice into its own palace of WoW. Sorry, I had to really stretch for that rhyme, but I really wanted to rhyme it. And that's gonna be the cool board for today. I mean, it's the coolest keyboard up there. Yes, it's not the coolest thing. The coolest thing on the cool board is obviously Gatoron, right? You can't get cooler than the Gatoron over here. You know what I'm saying? But I think for everything that the Alice has done in the hobby, at least for today, for right now, it deserves the most wowiest of the WoW spot that any wowster could ever wow in their wowginations. Y'all know what I'm saying, right? Petrov, yeah, for me, I think Alice has been improved upon, but deserves top spot for its historical significance in the hobby. Big agree. Well said indeed. So we are still a lot more to cover for the cool board. Nothing has made into the yikes yet, but one of the upcoming episodes is a 40% episode, so So, we're going to have more episodes coming up. I have a Discord in case anyone wants to offer suggestions. Also, take suggestions on Keyboard Talk, which is a forum for keyboards. One of the big things I'm trying to decide is whether or not we'll have a separate board for key sets. We'll see in the future. I'm just going to do a YouTube outro before I do the last part of the show with everyone live. Everyone watching on YouTube, thank you so much for watching the cool board. Hey, if you want to catch it live and argue with me and the rest of the chat, join me on twitch.tv every insert day here when I have a schedule. Thanks everyone on YouTube so much for watching.